Zach Stanley is the founder and CEO of WeTheHobby, a Rochester-based sports and trading entertainment brand reshaping how people experience the hobby. He started his company out of his spare bedroom during COVID, breaking live online and shipping orders with just a few of his closest longtime friends. What began as a passion project quickly grew into a full-scale business, blending live stream commerce, retail, and culture into one connected experience. Today, WeTheHobby operates a first-of-its-kind retail lounge and has built a worldwide presence through high-energy content, live shows on platforms like Fanatics Live and whatnot, and a fresh take on a legacy industry, driven by a mission to create space for collectors to connect, grow, and share what they love. Zach, pumped to have you here, man.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So we're going to jump right into it here. And as I was telling you before we started recording, I like to just lead with value for the audience. So you started your business back in 2021, you were telling me, and have since grown it into a fucking empire, dude. Talk about how you did that.
For me, it's been, I believe deeply in introspection, and I believe deeply in learning from past mistakes. This is my second company. I owned a company for 9 years in the fantasy sports and sports betting software space, and that was a near decade of hills and valleys. And I had started the company in my 20s and frankly didn't know what the hell I was doing. But there were so many lessons that came out of that I was able to apply to this project. And timing of my life at the same time was a situation that I have 3 kids now, but initially gave me the opportunity to really be focused and be relentless. And that is an inherent requirement really of any startup.
Yep.
Is that you have to sacrifice. And sacrificing family is not something that I've ever really been willing to do. So sacrificing sleep on occasion, but sacrificing the after-work stuff, sacrificing, golfing or whatever.
Not golfing, man.
Yeah, I know. I can't find time to golf ever. But you have to have that drive.
Yeah.
And it has to be something that you can't do anything but wake up and attack.
I feel that hard, dude. And I feel like what has allowed me to start and get to where we are and build a team around me that's been able to do everything we've done. And I don't think that you can be a successful entrepreneur, at least for the long term, for the long run, if you don't have that.
I think that, drive can be challenging. To maybe the first 3 months, the first 6 months, when you aren't hitting the mark, aren't breaking through, aren't getting where you want to go, it is easy to get discouraged. And it's easy to get unfocused. I'm a big believer in foundation, and that knowing the foundational components of what you're trying to build and focusing on them is a key driver to success. Now, you could be wrong. Your thesis could be wrong. But if your thesis is 5 things, you're going to run into problems. And I see it all the time with companies, both big and small, that suddenly decide that they should be doing something else, or they should be adding something to the ecosystem. And the problem with adding something to the ecosystem is that if you aren't excellent, and I mean excellent, at what you're currently doing, you're going to dilute yourself. and you're going to dilute either your brand, the quality of your product, whatever your focal point is, if you aren't ready to expand. And in order to be able to expand, you need to have that foundation.
I couldn't agree more. So talk a little bit about what that core thesis is for We the Hobby and what you focus relentlessly on to have had the success that you guys have had so far.
It started with entertainment quality. Simple beginnings, right? It's a bootstrap type situation, and before there's a significant amount of income to invest in what you've got going on, you've got to work with what you have. Mm-hmm. And to me, the low-hanging fruit in the industry that we were entering was that the quality of entertainment was a relatively low bar. And it just so happened to be that the existing stakeholders in the industry were either younger and hadn't had the sea of failures that I've experienced, or were older and weren't necessarily going to take the time and energy to invest in what the next era of the hobby was going to be. Mm-hmm. And we happened to be, I think, in the right place at the right time, having taken a lot of those lessons to be able to address that opportunity. And we had to be aggressive. We had to come out and show that we were willing to put up or shut up to an extent, which is, when you're dealing with a live auction environment like a Whatnot, you take risks and you occasionally take losses. And we knew that we were going to initially. But we also believed that the product, and I don't mean boxes of cards, but the quality of our personalities, our entertainment, our brand was going to shine through as we pushed. And within 2 to 3 months, back in 2022, actually was when we first started breaking, it did.
Give our audience an idea of the evolution from when you started it to now, like how big your operation has gotten, what you guys look like today, just to give an idea of like the growth for someone watching that maybe wants to start some sort of community-based business similar to what you have.
It can be frustrating in that you have to have that hunger to reach the next level. And there's nothing wrong with, there's nothing wrong with a great store that doesn't want to become 5 great stores, because that takes a significant investment and it takes a significant amount of time. Mm-hmm. But I knew from the outset, in this digital environment that had so many growth opportunities, that we had a huge opportunity to capture a significant amount of it. And that means building for scalability. Mm-hmm. And if you don't make that a big part of your focus, how are we going to go from 1 studio to 10 studios? How are we going to go from 1 shop to 10 shops? What foundational pieces do we need to have in place to be able to do that? Mm-hmm. And those are things that you have to address at the beginning, but they're ever evolving in that you may have the right person in the right seat with 15 employees. But that makeup could look a lot different with 100 employees.
Sure.
And if you don't, I talk a lot with our team about the why we do things, why we do anything, and the purpose behind every action that we take. And to me, part of the why is based on the gaps that you see. And if you are constantly, I know I talked about being frustrated in the beginning, but if you are constantly frustrated by the gaps, that's an asset, because you're constantly analyzing them and you're seeing what's not there, which doesn't mean that you don't take the time to recognize what is and celebrate what is. I think great entrepreneurs have a tougher time doing that.
Yeah.
But you have to push yourself to do it, to take a moment and say, like, look at where we got. And then quickly refocus on what are the things that we need to do to position ourselves for the next level.
Sure.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think entrepreneurs, team leaders, business owners, it's really hard because we're constantly analyzing our processes, the way that we handle clients. And especially in your busiest seasons, whether it's like starting the company or if you're leading a really successful operation, you don't always give yourself the breathing room to go, oh, man, we actually have built something pretty cool here. You know what I mean? Talk a little bit more about that experience. Like, how have you gotten better since probably when you started, and things being super frustrating all the time, but you're also in go, go, go mode, to now being able to balance like appreciating yourself, but also appreciating the team and the things that you've built? Because I know that positive appreciation can actually help fuel your growth, but it's really hard to stop and do.
I think recognizing people and recognizing that this may not be something that they started, but they are now a part of the driving force.
Yeah.
And they are part of something special.
Mm-hmm.
And when I don't like to look at team building as demanding excellence. When you build something from top to bottom that displays excellence, then your problem almost becomes what happens when somebody isn't trying to live up to that, because everyone else is. Everyone is trying to live up to the standard that is going to continue to drive it forward, and that is a badge. And so making sure that that is not disrupted by somebody that isn't marching to the same beat is actually helping to take care of all of those people that are.
Yeah.
And recognition is a huge thing.
Oh, yeah.
Because, you know, I'm constantly frustrated, constantly. But it's not, a lot of that is internalized, and a lot of that is the motivation. The motivation is, where are we not winning? You know, if you're a basketball player, you're a great basketball player, you're going to be in the gym working on those 1, 2, 3 things that you know are missing. And when you feel it in a game that you're missing it, it's frustrating.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But recognizing that is your drive to get better at that. And to me, not being frustrated, and that doesn't mean there's not a balance, but not having a component of frustration is getting comfortable.
Yeah.
And getting comfortable is getting complacent.
It's so true. And, the definition, I think, of frustration is when you're trying to get a certain outcome and there's something in the way from getting that outcome, right? And I think it's frustration in essence is foundational in order to grow anything. Because if you're not frustrated, that means you're not trying at all. So it's almost like a reframe that I've had to learn too as an entrepreneur of like, I expect myself to be frustrated every day, because if I'm not, that means we're stagnant or we're dying and we're not growing. And I love the part you said about not letting one person disrupt the ecosystem for the rest of the people. And what I mean by that, and what you meant by it, I think, is like when you have a team of A players, a team of just rock stars, I used to almost like feel bad for not rejecting, but not giving someone a chance or taking someone on in fear that they would not fit. But then I switched that mentality. I'm like, wait a second. We have built something so great and all these people around us that I'm almost in protection mode now of what our tribe is. And I will not let anyone come in that is going to disrupt what we've built and what we're building and growing towards. So that's a great perspective that I think more entrepreneurs need to have as they grow a team.
Yeah, I also think the more you fortify that, the more to an extent, the less that you have to do in seeing it.
Because
everyone
reinforce
sees it.
Yeah,
yes. Yeah. And everyone immediately recognizes, hey, like, we need to help lift this person up and give them that opportunity. But cultures are contagious. And you can say cultures are, in the same vein, cancerous, in that if it can go one way or another. Mm-hmm. And when you have a fortified team that has adopted a contagious culture, then those people that come in usually get up to speed pretty quickly, or they get weeded out pretty quickly.
Don't, right.
Yep.
That's actually really interesting. I never thought about that as like culture, because a big thing with us, with our company, as we've continued to grow and scale, is like, how do we reinforce this culture that we have, right? We have core values, and that's like kind of like a buzzword. It's like just like the things that we like to lead by, right? Integrity, all these things. How do you reinforce that? And I think what you said, like, it's contagious and it's either cancerous or it's really infectious in a good way, right? For you, and this is like, it's interesting because I'm curious to see how many employees do you have now? I mean, I think you said, 5 stores?
No, we have one store.
Oh, okay.
We have one retail store here.
Yep.
We have several different streams running on both Whatnot and Fanatics Live on a given day.
Okay.
And I believe we have eclipsed 140 now.
Wow. 140? How did you do that? How did you scale that and feel comfortable doing that? Because that's not an easy feat at all.
I think I have gone through, and this isn't going to sound great, but I've gone through several iterations of my leadership team. That doesn't mean everyone.
Sure.
But there's certain positions that have turned over a couple times because of what we just talked about. And, sometimes it's culture, sometimes it's the right fit, the right seat. But if you don't recognize it, like I talk to our team about this all the time, and when I talk in larger groups, that WeTheHobby is a moment in time to capture, because there will be new competition, there will be evolution, there will be disruption, and we need to be positioned to address all of it, and we have that unique opportunity. And so having the right group that not only embodies the culture, but is going to position us to execute on this remarkable moment in time that we have has been something that's been at the forefront for me since the beginning. And like I mentioned earlier, that can change. And a lot of times it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with anybody inherently, but that they may be better suited for a certain role in a certain position. And typically we try to do that if we can. But sometimes it's just not here. And I think now we've really positioned ourselves through some growing pains that we have a very, very strong leadership team. And I think the leadership team has gotten to a point of strength where when we look to say, hey, we need to add another one to that group, it's in the same position of the greater whole that we talked about, and that
Got it.
everybody talks to them, everybody understands whether they're marching to the same beat, and it becomes easier. And as you grow and as your brand becomes more identifiable, and I think we have the good fortune at this point to be very front-facing. So if you go into the store or you go onto the streams, you go onto our social, you quickly get an understanding of how special it might be and where it's headed. And that it's unique relative to maybe many other opportunities that you're looking at. And so now getting talent to recognize WeTheHobby as an opportunity for them is much easier than it was even a few months ago.
I love that. And I've heard that from other great entrepreneurs who have built great brands too. It's like, if you're able to use social media, the modern channels, to build anything, you're going to attract everyone you need from those platforms. Like, yes, you can still go the traditional route, put out a job posting and like sift through whatever. But the people who are following you for years and years, and then when an opportunity comes, you're already getting like the cream of the crop people from the community that you built. So I guess to kind of transition into my next question, and this is kind of a selfish one, honestly, how outside of your culture, right, internal, building that, how have you built the community around that? Because you guys have almost 50,000 Instagram followers now. You're absolutely exploding. I just started recently the Real Power community for entrepreneurs based on the brand of this podcast, and I'm trying to grow that community. So I would love to hear just anything that you have in terms of building raving fans around your brand.
I think the fact that the business model was front facing from the outset, and that we positioned ourselves to be noticed, and we have been very focused on driving community since the beginning. And what does that mean? It means a sense of belonging.
Mm-hmm.
And where do you feel like you belong? You feel like you belong with like-minded individuals, right? That recognize your value system. And that doesn't always mean that the people on the other end are living within that value system, but maybe it's something that they want to get to.
Striving for it, yeah.
And maybe it's something that makes them feel better. And I think that culture that, we push internally is the one that shows on all of our streams. Is that we we are the best in entertainment, but it is done in a way that is positive. I have a very deep personal history of overcoming challenges with positivity. And I think a mantra for us internally is every day is the opportunity to make someone's day.
Oh, I love that.
And they come on our stream to get a break, to get an escape. So what are we giving them? And what greater honor is there to have people that just want to get away from whatever they're dealing with and have an escape and hang out with you because you make them feel something.
Mm-hmm.
And so that I view that as a very big responsibility, and that our entertainers need to recognize that as well, because it means so much to so many people. Mm-hmm. And that front-facing component to the business is one of my biggest focal points as far as just being absolutely relentless, because that's the product. But the product is much more important than, a box of Kleenex. It's something that changes people's day, and they tell us that. They tell us, hey, like, I'm dealing with cancer, just had a loss in my family, I just got fired, whatever it may be, we're giving them a smile. And upholding that is tremendously important for us.
You can see me, I'm nodding my head over here because everything you just said was what I was hoping you'd say. And that is the foundation of community. And that's what I believe into my core as well. And similar to you, that's what this brand is about. The community is a tribe of like-minded individuals. Whether you're an entrepreneur or you want to become an entrepreneur, it is giving them, like you said, providing value to them and guiding them through whether you're just starting as what I call a solopreneur, you're getting your business off the ground, and then you're building through these phases of what I call operator, running a team, and then eventually owner, where you can, if you'd like to, scale yourself out of the business and have an asset that's running for you and achieving what I call, in that regard, financial freedom. And that's been my goal from the start with this business. And I'm still working my way up to that level 3, but that is what I'm building in my community, and everything that I do for that community is to help the person, to genuinely help them change their life. And I love like the perspective you have of everyone has these problems that they're dealing with in life, and we can be that escape for them and put a smile on someone's face at the end of the day. So I love it.
I'm curious too. So I didn't mean to cut off. What do you think, obviously when you started this, you probably, had a passion for the product, right? Like what you guys were going to be doing. But over time, has your perspective shifted of like, yes, the entertainment, the sports, type of stuff is great, but is your real driver for growing now what you said, the smile on people's face? Like, is that what keeps you, going each day, feeling confident?
I think the businesses evolve, obviously, and recognizing when you need to pivot. The only reason that my first business survived 9 years was an endless string of pivots. And fortunately, this business hasn't required such significant strategic shifts. But recognizing not just what's next, but what's after that and after that is how you stay ahead of the curve. And I see, and right now China is a big model for this, but I see a world in which live shopping is an integral part of the consumer experience very soon. It already is.
It's happening.
It already is, but it's going to accelerate significantly. And I think from an infrastructure standpoint, from a foundational team building standpoint and a brand standpoint, we are really well positioned to address the greater opportunity in live shopping. And all of that is driven by those principles that you're talking about, is that like whatever we're selling, it doesn't matter because the message is the same.
Yep.
It's that like, hey, we're going to make your day. In our sports card breaks, there are winners and losers every day.
Right.
You open a box, you have the Buffalo Bills in that box. No big Bills cards hit, that's it. But like, do you come away saying, even when you don't get anything significant in return, that was entertaining, that was fun, I loved the chat, I love the camaraderie, that was money well spent.
Yep.
That's the goal. And so I think across, we have a Pokemon channel on Whatnot now. We see a host of opportunities across the existing platforms and new platforms across collectibles and live shopping. But who we are on the entertainment and the cultural side is unchanging. And that standard is something that cannot be compromised.
That's very interesting. Yeah, like having a guiding principle behind no matter what. I think a lot of times, and I've noticed it even with ourselves, we're really developing and expanding because we do, as you said earlier, we have this foundation of this real estate media side pretty well stabilized, right? So we're not expanding foolishly and causing dilution, but we're expanding into this sort of content creation, cinematic film, creative short film area and space. And sometimes it's easy for us to get hyper focused on the product. Like, what are we making? What are we selling? How do we do it? But ultimately, you got to ground yourself in something, which is like, what's the core principle behind it, right? And I think, you kind of just made me remember that the point for us is to really build experience so that if someone watches one of these creative films, these videos for their brand or for whatever, they go, wow, that actually like changed my day, changed my week, my month, right? It's really interesting because I think oftentimes business owners just get so obsessed with the product. And of course it has to be good or else you'd go out of business, but you got to be focused with the why. So that's really insightful.
Yeah. The retail space that we have, which is, I view as a significant opportunity, not just because of the unique retail model for sports cards, but what it does for our brand. If the space and quality of execution is there, it's hard to even measure. But the goal for our retail space was to take the excitement, the production value, the special effects, the community experience that we have in our digital environment and apply that to a retail space. And I think we've successfully done that. And to me, those are the wins. Like, those are the wins that allow me to soak it in for a minute. When you see someone that is so overjoyed to have this be what they're doing at that moment in time, and you see it in the chat as well. Like, we, on big product release days and stuff like that, we flip on our stream and people are going nuts.
You get real live feedback.
They're
That's
just
awesome.
losing their minds, and seeing what it means to them is for me such a key driver to continue to stay focused and motivated.
I love that point about just having a retail store in a physical place for people to gather, right? Because I think in a world where we're going more and more virtual every day, AI is taking over, working from home, all this stuff, it's almost driving farther away from community. And yes, I understand digital community is a big thing, but like in person, there's a different dynamic. This is why I like doing podcasts in person, because there's a different energy than over like a Zoom call or something. And we thought very hard about if it was worth, getting this space for our business when, most of the days we're out shooting in different locations, right? But this has been the best investment of our life, not just because of like the podcast area, but coming together as a team every week and just that camaraderie of like coming together. We have a place where we can bring clients in. We have a place where we can host events. So love that you guys have a physical place. Where is it located real quick? Just so we can...
23 Arlington Street.
Okay.
Right next to Village Gate.
Awesome.
Yeah, like diagonally across from
Oh my God,
Good
you're
Luck.
right here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wait.
right across the street.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's right
crazy.
there.
I didn't know if
Yeah.
it was right across the street.
Yeah. You should check it out. It's pretty cool.
Oh, we
I
will be.
definitely
We
will.
will be.
Yeah, I know you probably had a direction too. I wanted to ask you this, right? Because I had heard it a few times, and it seems like you guys are so laser focused on like where you are now and where you're going. In the course of building WeTheHobby, but even touching on like your past business, if you wanted to, are there times where you've reflected and said, okay, there is like this potential profitable endeavor, right? There's this cool way that we could pivot and make a ton of money, but it doesn't align with your mission and you guys have turned it down? Because I think with something for us, we've been in this constant flux and struggle of like, for video production, do we take on these types of projects or these types of, projects in this niche, but does it really align with the creative direction we want to go in? So have you had moments like that? And do you think it's important to turn down opportunities sometimes?
There's two key components to new opportunities. One, I think the biggest one is the bright light, the fuzzy ball. And on bad days or down months or whatever it may be, you see one of those fuzzy balls fly across the floor and it looks like the answer. Like you found it. It just happened upon you, and this is what you now need to do because everything's shit, and and it's all a struggle, and you're looking for a way out. You're desperate for it, and you just found it. And that's not really how things work. It's when you see something like that, and it happened to me at my previous company, and it's reared its head to me at this one. You have to immediately turn on an objective mindset and analyze what it is. Because sometimes it's a great opportunity for somebody, but not you. And that can be for a host of reasons. But the one I'm referencing in particular is we don't have the bandwidth. We are having enough trouble pushing for perfection. There is no perfection, but pushing for perfection in our current mandates that we just can't do it. It's because we will dilute, like I talked about earlier. It happens all the time. And you can look at it later and maybe the opportunity has changed at that point and it's sailed and it's over, or maybe it's still there. Or maybe you can schedule it into your 6-month strategy. But you know that right now you simply cannot take it on because you're going to hurt your company. And, it reminds me a bit of the restaurant space, as challenging as it is. Sometimes scaling up is not the way to go. Sometimes going from 4,000 square feet to 12,000 can run you out of business. And so that, that has always been a focus of mine, is to make sure like, hey, we're going to evolve. We're going to find new opportunities, but when are we going to put them in the pipeline is extremely important. When are we going to have a Pokemon channel? When are we going to open up a second retail location? When are we stretching ourselves too thin because the timing isn't right?
Yeah.
And then, to your point, maybe more so the core philosophy of like, how does this fit into who we are, and does it?
Right.
I think in the web of retail and social commerce, it's hard to think of many things that couldn't be an option for us if we bring who we are to that category. Because you might look at a certain category of shopping and say, like, that's not our brand. Look at what they're doing. That's not who we are. But is it something that who we are needs?
Right.
Or needs who we are?
Right.
And I think that because of that core philosophy and approach, there is a lot that is appealing, because chances are there's a category here and a category there that need that type of energetic jolt.
That's very interesting. So sometimes it's less so about turning down an opportunity and more about how can you inject your way of doing things into that opportunity.
Well, if we're able to address an opportunity because it is the right time for us to grow into a new sector or a new category, most of everything is about limited resources.
Right.
Like we have a finite amount of resources. So as we scale, and there's an appropriate way to scale, where do we next go? And what does the pipeline look like? Because our resources are finite.
Right.
So that next move, every next move to me is a crucial one. Is it going to drive the revenue? Is it going to drive the brand growth? Does it fall under the umbrella of who we are?
Right.
All of those, does it satisfy strategic partnership opportunities or goals? Those all factor into those decisions.
I want to end with understanding you, Zach, the entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship is hard, man, and you know this. What do you do, daily habits, routines, things in your life to keep your sanity and still drive towards all of your big, ambitious goals?
That assumes that he has the sanity. Like that's
Yeah,
a big
Some days I don't have the sanity.
There you go.
It can be. I have a soon-to-be 5-year-old, and I have 2-year-old twins.
Jeez, man.
And which was a surprise, obviously. And they are both my lifeblood, and everything that allows me to continue to push when I'm tired. That it's such an easy piece of my life to focus on when you feel like taking a break. And that doesn't mean you don't take breaks, but they're often what keep me humming, not just from a motivation standpoint, because I don't think that that's ever really been an issue, or at least not for a long time. But from a mentality standpoint, from a wellness standpoint, pushing is hard. I mean, it is inherently hard, and being relentless to reach goals is hard. But I get to come home to a lot of love and support every day. And it is just another 4 or 5 hours of insanity, and nonstop, no sitting, type energy. It's my greatest motivating factor. And every morning when I get up, I stretch. Oftentimes in the shower for like 20 seconds, I will just try to loosen up before the day. And you need to find time to take a pause. And in my world, that's really, really hard right now. But perspective is so important. And it's easy to lose perspective if you don't take the opportunity. Some days my opportunities are just mental reminders. I don't have the opportunity to relax some days. I actually do not at all. I fall asleep when I take the opportunity to relax. But you need to remind yourself why you're going, because it's easy to just go and get lost in what the actual purpose is.
Yeah.
And for me, the purpose is them, for sure, and the motivation to build something great. When we first really got rolling and like everybody, at least in our industry, started knowing who we were, the questions start coming up like, what's the plan? What's the plan for WeTheHobby? Where is it going to go? Is there an exit? Like, what's the deal? And that's such a classic, symptom of our current business environment, right? What's the exit plan? And my answer was pretty simple and has been for quite a long time, and it's that I set out to build something great. And one day somebody may come along and say, hey, your something great is worth this much to me. And I may have to look at that someday. But I look at this business as a baseball game. And I think we might be in the top of the second. I don't think we're anywhere close. And so I want to see as much of the game as I can, within reason. I'm sure there'll come a point, like I said, where, maybe I'm not as involved. Maybe I'm, on a board or whatever. But as of right now, I am so heavily motivated by the opportunities, and also I think we all need to remind ourselves that we could be doing a lot of other things, right? And those of us that are fortunate enough to have the opportunities to be in a moment in time, it's criminal to not recognize what that means. When you're tired, when you're exhausted, you got to take care of yourself. But also, not that many people get these opportunities. It's just the way it is. And that for me is something that I say to our team, like, we get to sell cards, we get to entertain people, we get to get people excited and make content and like all of these cool things that give people experiences. And we're lucky. And most times, I think, for any business, where you were, at what point you were there, is luck. What you do with it is the work, right? And that relentlessness to capture it. You look at Steve Jobs or Bill Gates or whoever. I'm sure they would have been very, very successful in whatever they did, but they had a moment in time.
That was their opportunity.
And that was it. Yep. And they were in the right place at the right time with the right faculties to be able to execute.
Yep.
It is, an honor to be a part of We the Hobby, honestly.
That was a sweet wrap up. I know you probably didn't intend that, but the way you say it, it wrapped up cleanly. Yeah. I love it.
Zach, thank you for being here, brother.
Absolutely.
This has been an honor and a pleasure. Seriously.
Appreciate it.
There will be a part 2, even if you don't want there to be. We're going to
drag
you back into this room.
Sounds good. This was my break.
This is good.
This is good.
Guys, I hope you enjoyed this one. Tons of wisdom in this episode. Real quick, 2 quick asks of you. If you enjoy the show and you want to support the show, go pick up yourself a hat. 100% of the sales go towards our family's foundation, the Tyler Putnam Foundation. And number 2, if you want to be part of the greatest tribe of entrepreneurs on the internet, the Real Power Tribe on Skool is where it's at. The link will be in the description if you want to join. 50 plus entrepreneurs already. It's just a community where we are all working to achieve financial freedom and an extraordinary life. So if you want to be a part of that, link will be in the description for that. Go check out We the Hobby and everything they're doing. Any last things you want to plug, Zach, before we log off?
Stay motivated.
Stay motivated.
I love that.
Go get it, guys.
Simple. Yeah.
See you in the next one.